Welcome to the ValentiVerse. I'm your perfect and humble leader, CHRIS VALENTI, and boy oh boy do we have a lot to talk about. It's been a month since Mango Mussolini was inaugurated, or should I say, since he took the throne. God save the king! And in that month, Trump and Elon have managed to weaken the United States' geopolitical power more than every single president before them. And I say them because it's clearly a co-presidency with Elon Musk. Sort of like a Dom sub BDSM style relationship, with Trump in the gimp suit from Pulp Fiction. Regardless, we gotta talk about why those two are dismantling democracy. Hint, it's because of Curtis Yarvin. Curtis Yarvin and the Dark Enlightenment believers. See, we're going to do a bit of a deep dive into President Elon's conflict of interests at DOGE, which, conveniently, he doesn't work for. Then we're going to wrap up with some of the latest news on the Ukraine war and how the Trump administration is allying with Russia. Yes, you heard me right, allying with Russia. Now, don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, hit the notification bell, and donate $7,000 to the channel and to cover my legal fees for being too sexy, of course. Also, stick around because y'all are going to be able to buy some shit from me. Cue the intro. So, if I actually tried to cover all the stupid shit that Trump has done in the past month, this would be a 3-hour-long video, okay? So instead, we are going to focus our vision on the ways that he and Elon are expanding the power of the president so that they can usurp Congress and replace democracy with tech feudalism. So, first thing that we got to do is start off with tech feudalism. What the fuck does that even mean? Well, here's the definition. Tech feudalism is the idea that we are not transitioning from capitalism to something better, but instead, we are slipping into a system where tech companies function like modern feudal lords. Now, this term was first coined by former Greek finance minister Yanis Varoufakis, and in many ways, he is correct. Right? Since the financial crisis of 2008, we have seen the rapid expansion of monopolies controlled by fucking modern-day robber barons, right? And they have seemingly destroyed the idea of small businesses. They've taken complete control over the so-called free market. Companies like Meta, Apple, Google, Amazon. That spells MAGA. Oh, but maybe they have put the working class in a vice grip with their little piggy CEOs sipping out of champagne glasses on fucking mega yachts while we, the working class, beg our billionaire and nearly trillionaire co-presidents to lower the price of eggs. These Silicon Valley tech bro incels like Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk praise a man by the name of Curtis Yarvin. Curtis Yarvin is an American blogger who has written extensively over the past decade and a half about his desire to dismantle the very idea of the United States and to instead carve the land into different districts that would be controlled by megacorporations. Each of these districts would then have a CEO ruling over their workers like old school lords, and each of those lords would answer to the king of all districts, operating sort of as like a chairman of the board. Now, I know this sounds insane, but you don't need to trust me. You could take it directly from the horse's mouth. Yarvin has done multiple interviews, including one with the New York Times, where he says that the American people need to get over their dictator phobia and that democracy is actually a weak system of governance. This ideology is often referred to as the Dark Enlightenment. The Dark Enlightenment it's a movement, right, of neo-reactionaries and self-proclaimed anti-democratic elitists, and essentially they believe that the billionaire class and the 1% are simply superior to you and the entirety of the working class. I mean, after all, they are billionaires, so you must be inferior to them. This neo-fascist belief is inherent on the replacement of democracy with absolute monarchy. Since the average people like you and I are just too stupid to know what's best for ourselves, right? Right? Now, I know this guy seems insane, and he is. But Trump invited him as an honorary guest to the White House gala. J.D. Vance has mentioned Yarvin by name as one of his greatest influences. And Elon Musk has praised his writings for over a decade. The ruling class want this. They want to be the robber barons of the Gilded Age. Musk and Rockefeller, Bezos and J.P. Morgan, Zuckerberg and Vanderbilt. Same men, different names. Now, this is why I believe that we are truly headed into the second Gilded Age. But wait a minute. Do you even know what the first Gilded Age is? Of course you don't. You were taught under the American education system. That's not your fault. That's the fault of our leaders. But don't sweat it. This is why we have our own history correspondent and Father of the Year, Professor Valenti. Come on out, Prof. Teach him a thing or two. Once my boy decided not to come home, he went into a life of crime. He now runs the Rat Men Syndicate of Indianapolis. Hey there, kids! I figured that now would be a pretty good time to remind you of the Gilded Age. The term Gilded Age was coined by Mark Twain in the late 1800s, and it's a metaphor for something that has a thin layer of gold on the outside, but it's actually rotten on the inside. Or, in other words, something that is gilded with gold. Now, why would you refer to an entire time period as a Gilded Age? Well, I'll explain it to you. At first glance, one might see the American economy booming between the 1870s and the 1890s, with great innovations in industries like steel, railroad work, shipping, and banking. And although that all may be true, the overwhelming majority of Americans were living in poverty. You see, the extreme lack of regulation around these industry giants like Andrew Carnegie, John Rockefeller, and Cornelius Vanderbilt, that ended up creating something called monopolies. Yes, like the board game! You see, a monopoly is the exclusive possession and control of the supply or trade in a commodity or service. So in layman's terms, it means that you have so much control over the market that there's no one left to compete against you. Now, the establishment of these monopolies led to widespread use of the term robber barons when referring to these industry giants at the top. You see, these men accrued their wealth through abusive and unethical business practices, acting like barons of old, all while robbing the working class. You see, the horrible living conditions of the Gilded Age did end up leading to some major progress, because living in squalor was unacceptable for millions of Americans. And so, we began to see the establishment of unions and the beginning of regulatory systems being put in place to prevent the growth of monopolies. Teddy Roosevelt led this charge, creating the Sherman Antitrust Act, which helped take power from these oligarchs and give it back to the people where it belongs. Always remember, there is no such thing as an ethical billionaire. Back to you, Chris. Thank you for that quick history lesson, Professor. You know, speaking of robber barons, there's one in particular that really grinds my gears. And that is Elon Musk, if you haven't guessed. Musk, an unelected foreign-born billionaire raised under an apartheid regime who owns 2/3 of all satellites orbiting planet Earth, and also proudly sig-heiled twice on the world stage before speaking at a German Nazi rally, this slimy, greedy, neo-fascist oligarch has taken it upon himself to use his newly formed DOGE to illegally dismantle our democratic institutions. many of which are, coincidentally, investigating him and his many companies for various violations. Here's just a small list of what I'm talking about. Top of the head, we got USAID opens an investigation into Starlink. USAID targeted by DOGE. FAA opens an investigation into SpaceX after Elon's Starship exploded over Turks and Caicos. Remember that? Targeted by DOGE. The SEC opens an investigation into Neuralink regarding unsafe practices. Targeted by DOGE. Department of Transportation investigates Tesla for unsafe self-driving cars. Targeted by DOGE. The FTC, it opens an investigation into Twitter regarding Elon's recent deal with Visa to create a form of currency on Twitter. Targeted by DOGE. Over the past 4 weeks, guys, we have been swarmed with an overflow of information. Okay, the Trump administration, it's flooding us with executive orders, DOGE budget cuts, wild speeches. What they're trying to do is normalize this new sense of authority. But it's not normal, and it's not legal. As of the time that we're filming this, 13 attorneys general at the DOJ have sued DOGE. 23 states have sued DOGE. And many of Trump's unconstitutional executive orders have been blocked by the courts. Now, here's the thing, chat. Elon thought of this. Motherfucker, he's good. He is good. I gotta hand it to him. He may be evil, but that is fucking clever. So as the judicial system comes crashing down on DOGE and the consequences of their illegal actions start to become a reality, we suddenly find out that the guy who created DOGE isn't actually in charge of the fucking department itself. He has no authority. So then why the fuck is everybody following his orders? It doesn't make sense. And get this. I can't even tell you who the real person in charge is at DOGE. That's a secret. A secret that you and I, the working man, we're just not privy to know. Oh, I'm sorry, does that bother you? That the people dismantling our government don't have to reveal their names? Does that sound illegal to you? Oh, wait, that doesn't matter either. Because Trump just signed an executive order that says only the president and the attorney general can dictate what U.S. law is. How great. Avi, roll the clip.
This executive order would establish important oversight functions in the Office of Management and Budget and its subsidiary office, OIRA, supervising independent agencies and many of their actions, and also reestablishes the longstanding norm that only the president or the attorney general can speak for the United States when stating an opinion as to what the law is.
So while Trump is effectively making himself a king, Elon keeps on claiming to be cleaning out waste, fraud, and abuse within the government. Now, is there waste, fraud, and abuse? Absolutely. Irrefutably. Is what Elon doing cutting and finding that waste, fraud, and abuse? Absolutely not! One department that he cut, and I find this particularly interesting, you probably haven't even heard of it. It's called the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, right? The CFPB it's essentially the anti-scam police, right? It was created after the 2008 financial crisis. It's widely known as the best government program for the working class. I mean, dude, over 200 million Americans have received a check from the CFPB, totaling over $20 billion, right? Now, their job would have been to investigate Elon's new X dollars once it launched. But coincidentally, the tech team at the CFPB has been gutted, and the entire department is being screwed. There are Elon dick riders turning against him over this. We had to go all the way to the financial district just to find somebody who was willing to defend this decision. His name is John S. Kammer. Oh my God, his name is John S. Kammer. Mr. Kammer, the floor is yours. You know, I don't see a problem with this.
You know? Anti-scam police? Bullshit. More like bureaucrat red tape and unnecessary regulations. Listen, I've been selling insurance for years, right? And when somebody buys a $500 a month plan, it's my job to try and, grease them up a little bit. Maybe for an extra $100 a month, you could get some extra coverage. A little bit of that diamond plan, you know what I'm saying? And then, these stupid fucks, usually a grandma in Saskatoon, she spends the extra bread, not knowing that there ain't no such thing as a diamond plan. Dumb bitch. So, you do that to a couple thousand peasants, and bada bing, bada boom, you got yourself $500,000. But here's the thing. Every time I did that, these fucking people, they called up the CFPB, the good old CFP motherfucking B, and they'd come a knocking at my door with a warrant and a court order for me and my cronies to give back all the money that we earned by stealing it from these fucking people. So you tell me, how is that fair? I can confidently say that ever since the CFPB has been fucking killed, my business is booming. I'm scamming motherfuckers left and right, and there ain't a goddamn thing that they can do about it. Oh shit, you know what? I got a call coming in. It's a grandpa in Tulsa who wants to set up a college fund for his grandson. I'm gonna rob this fucker blind. Later, fellas. Oh, and make America great again. Hey, how you doing, man? Let me get you in on the diamond plan.
Well, he is definitely on something, which is why I have his number. Now, while he's gone, let's talk about bias. Every news source has a bias, okay? And the best that you can ask for is that they tell you their bias right off the rip. Propaganda is everywhere. Everybody wants you to be on their side, especially news outlets. That's why I use ground news to help piece together the truth. You see, on ground news, you can see different perspectives on the same news story. Take something breaking. For example, Donald Trump posting "Long Live the King," right? You type that in the search bar, and off the rip, you're going to get left-leaning articles with headlines like, "Trump declares himself King of the United States." Scroll down a bit, and bang, you've got a right-leaning article saying, "Trump jokes about being the King of New York in recent social media post." See, by using ground news, I am allowed to understand both sides of the argument. And then I can come to my own conclusions. Ground news makes it so easy to parse through the bullshit and find the facts. Don't be spoken for. Use the link in description for 40% off Ground News' Vantage subscription and speak for yourself. Okay, now my manager is happy. You happy now, Avi? We did it. Now, on to bigger and better things. The Russia-Ukraine war seems to be coming to an end. In an absolutely mind-boggling, jaw-dropping, confusing-ass way. So, listen, Trump recently gave a speech where he blamed the entirety of the war on Ukraine. Despite them being illegally invaded by a massive nuclear-powered nation such as Russia. And then, as the hours went by, we found out that there was a meeting between U.S. and Russian officials regarding ceasefire terms between Russia and Ukraine. But get this, there wasn't a single Ukrainian official at the meeting. The very people whose future is being decided weren't given a seat at the goddamn table. This is what we did to Germany in World War I. And then, the President of the United States threw a fucking temper tantrum about being questioned about this lunacy. Avi, roll the clip.
Well, you've been there for 3 years. You should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal. I could have made a deal for Ukraine that would have given them almost all of the land, everything, almost all of the land, and no people would have been killed, and no city would have been demolished, and not one dome would have been knocked down.
But wait, there's more. Experts who are looking at the stipulation of the ceasefire are saying that it is literally worse than the Treaty of Versailles. Ukraine is being forced to remove Zelensky from the presidency and allow Russia to host a phony election where they will install a Russian puppet at the head of Ukraine. Now, another stipulation is that 50% of all rare earth minerals in the country will be given to the United States for the rest of time. All of this coming out after Trump announced a new development of good relations between him and Putin and the beginning of a new era of commerce between the Russians and the Americans. As we are speaking, the entirety of European leadership is shitting and crying, trying to understand how the fuck they are going to navigate in a world where the Russians and the Americans have an alliance. Now, here's my opinion on this. Do I want the end of all the death in Ukraine and Russia? Of course. But how can we simply allow Putin to bite like a dog and then not punish him for it? Like the dog he is, he will learn a lesson from this. And that lesson is, if I bite, no one bites back. I don't understand how we can send hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine while they hold back the Russian horde, and then years later, we just stop giving a fuck and say, you know what? Just take it, Vlad. In fact, fuck you, Zelensky, for being invaded in the first place. Is this what America stands for now? Are we just brazenly and boldly cheering for authoritarian imperialism? America, something is wrong. I know that was a lot to unpack. I know that this past month has felt like a year, but there are lessons to be learned. Which means it's time for moral of the story. The Dark Enlightenment. Moral of the story is this. Throughout history, the ruling class have always tried to point us, the workers, at one another. They have tried time and time again to expand their wealth and power while we live off the scraps. And now, after nearly 300 years of American democracy, the ruling class wants their absolute power back. No more playing pretend. They simply want to be the kings of the second Gilded Age. Now, when it comes to Elon Musk and DOGE draining our government programs, the moral of the story is this. We have a legal system in this nation. If you want to drain a government agency of their funding, which we have done before, then you need the House to write a bill, Congress to approve it, and the president to sign it. Everything that DOGE has done has been irrefutably and demonstrably illegal. Do not let them normalize it. And finally, Russia and Ukraine. The moral of the story is this, guys. Appeasement does not work. When Hitler marched into Poland, he slaughtered his way through, and Neville Chamberlain appeased to him. Chamberlain believed that Hitler would stop there, and he wouldn't expand further into Europe. Chamberlain was wrong. And if Trump thinks that this will prevent Putin's expansion, he's also wrong. But the question is, does Trump want to prevent Putin's expansion? I'm not convinced. Anyway, that's all we got for you today, folks. Make sure you subscribe, like the video, comment down below, hit the bell, donate $7,000 to the channel, and go buy some merch. As always, here's the Luigi cam to cleanse your soul. I'll see you next time. Onward.
Mrs. Luigi. What are you doing?
Beans? We didn't have the merch when we were filming the episode, but it's here now, and I thought I'd show you just some of it. This is the Stick to History Bro workout tank top. Let me go get the hoodie. What's up, brothers? Here's the hoodie. We've got the fucking dope-ass ValentiVerse logo. Shout out Avi Bagla.
But yeah, we've got the hoodie here. It's pretty fucking sick if you ask me. Let me give you the whole rundown here. Hi, how are you? And there you go. How's that? How's that for an ad?